I've married my childhood sweetheart 38 times. Each time, my former fiancé Jonas would come to disrupt the wedding scene. He would tear off my veil with a sinister expression and rough movements. Natalie, how dare you marry another man without my permission? Regardless of my cries and pleas, he would take me back and keep me under house arrest, subjecting me to wanton humiliation. I've resisted, struggled, called the police, and tried every means to escape. But each time, I would be caught by Jonas. He threatened me with the lives and fortunes of my childhood sweetheart's entire family and my career prospects, forcing me to compromise again and again. But when I truly compromised and stayed by his side obediently, he would complain that I was rigid and lifeless. I've been reborn 37 times, and each life ended badly. When I was reborn for the 38th time, I didn't want to endure it anymore. Since every choice seemed to be wrong, then I choose for Jonas to die. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. I opened my eyes again and saw the gentle and affectionate face of my childhood sweetheart, Carl. He choked up and said, "Natalie, I've finally married you." But there was no ripple in my heart. This was the 38th time I had been reborn, including the original life. I had married Carl 39 times. Each time, the wedding had never been completed smoothly. Natalie. Sure enough, the next second, Jonas's furious voice sounded. I turned my head and saw that he had already appeared at the end of the red carpet, staring at me with a gloomy expression. Carl immediately stood in front of me protectively. "Don't be afraid," he said firmly. "Today is our wedding. I won't let anyone ruin this wonderful day. It's useless. The Anderson family is a business tycoon with great power and influence. So even though Carl and I kept the news of our marriage a closely guarded secret, and even set the wedding location on the back mountain of a distant relative of Carl's hometown, he could still find out and come in time to stop it. And Carl and I, one is a helpless orphan, and the other is a diligent student from a small town with an ordinary family background. Against Jonas, the only son of the Anderson family, we are simply like a mayfly trying to shake a tree, or a mantis trying to block a cart." Carl had already told his relatives in advance that as soon as Jonas appeared, some people would immediately hold hoes and machetes, intending to intimidate them. But obviously, they were no match for these well-trained professional bodyguards. Jonas didn't even need to tell them to take action. He scattered large amounts of red banknotes, and those villagers immediately bent down to pick them up. Escorted by the bodyguards, Jonas came to me unobstructed. Carl was held back by the bodyguards and shouted heartbreakingly, "Jonas, you're not allowed to touch her." Jonas ignored him and just sneered at me. "Natalie, you've really got some nerve." He tore off my veil and corsage in one go. The tyranny in his handsome eyebrows and eyes couldn't be suppressed. "How dare you marry another man without my permission?" Omga. Checking in at the famous scene. Jonas is so handsome. I think the female lead, baby, should stop struggling and just submit to our Jonas. Yeah. He's already realized his mistake. He loves you so much. Just go back with him obediently. My pupils trembled. I was shocked when I saw these flashy bullet comments, which hadn't appeared in the previous 37 times. "Natalie, are you even listening to me?" Seeing that I didn't react much, Jonas became even angrier. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me, wanting to take me away. "Come with me. Didn't you always want to marry me? We'll go back and get married. Stop being stubborn. Love me obediently like you used to. And I'll spare Carl." Why hasn't the female lead, baby, said anything? Is she stunned by Jonas's domineering handsomeness? How could that be? She must be thinking about running away in her heart. This drama is about forced love. She won't be so obedient. This guy is really despicable. When the female lead was chasing after him, he was extremely annoyed by her. Now that the female lead doesn't love him anymore, he's clinging to her. The haters in the front. Get out. Make it clear that it was the female lead's mother who first tried to reap benefits in return for saving Jonas, which led to this marriage contract for the female lead. Jonas really didn't like the female lead in the early days. Is he supposed to sacrifice his whole life just because he was saved by her mother? I couldn't agree more. And the female lead's mother was also very scheming. She wouldn't have jumped into the water to save Jonas if she didn't think the Anderson family was rich. So Jonas is pitiful. The female lead was really submissive in the early days and wasn't likable. It's normal for him to dislike her. I thought I had already become numb after experiencing the chaotic lives of the previous 37 times. But when I saw someone say that my mother was scheming, I couldn't help but feel angry. If it wasn't for saving Jonas, my mother wouldn't have died at all. She had already escaped from my abusive father with me, found a good job, and our lives were about to get better. She was such a good swimmer. Just because the drowning Jonas desperately pushed her underwater, she exhausted her strength. After sending Jonas to the shore, she sank. She didn't even leave me a last word. How could she try to reap benefits in return? Okay. Stop arguing. Get in the car. Get in the car. The famous scene of having sex in the car is starting. I was stuffed into the car by Jonas. The car door closed, blocking out Carl's hoarse shouts. Jonas leaned over and pressed on me, his eyes deep. Natalie, do you know how sad I am? Perhaps because I didn't scream and scold him hysterically like in the previous 37 times. Jonas's attitude became much gentler. There was a strong feeling in his eyes, and his desire gradually rose. His big hand had lifted the wedding dress and reached under my skirt. You can't marry someone else. You're my fiancé. You're mine, Natalie. His lips and tongue wandered around my neck, and the hot breath sprayed on my skin, making me feel disgusted and sticky. The bullet comments scrolled excitedly. Carl is watching outside the window. Our Jonas is pressing the female lead, baby, on the chair and having sex with her. OMG. So exciting. Jonas, I said softly, then do you know how much I hate you? Jonas paused in his actions and raised a pair of angry and sad eyes. The next moment, I had already pulled out the hairpin behind my head and stabbed the sharp end into his neck fiercely. Blood spurted out. The hot and sticky touch was so clear. Jonas's incredulous and terrified expression was still in front of me. In a blink of an eye, I was back at the wedding scene. The blue sky, white clouds, and green grass. The groom Carl was smiling and looking at me at the end of the red carpet. The bullet comments scrolled wildly. Damn. Did you all see that just now? Am I not seeing things? I saw it. The female lead killed Jonas. She stabbed him to death. Goodness gracious. Isn't the drama I'm watching about the male lead chasing the female lead and making up for his mistakes in love? Isn't it about her chasing and him running away, and her having no way to escape? How did it turn into a horror scene in the blink of an eye? I remember the original plot wasn't like this. Shouldn't it be the famous scene of the male and female leads having sex in the car? Why did the female lead kill the male lead? Mom. It's so eerie. I don't want to watch anymore. I want to go home. The male lead who forces women should die. The female lead stabbed him well. Stabbed him brilliantly. I'm so satisfied. Don't be too happy. Those upstairs. Where is the exit button for this video, Omga? This time, the rebirth point was a little earlier than before. Natalie, I've finally married you. Natalie. But it was only a little earlier. I looked indifferently at Jonas at the end of the red carpet. The female lead's eyes are so scary. She won't try to kill Jonas again, will she? No. Jonas loves you very much. Wouldn't it be nice to go back with him and live the life of a wealthy lady in a wealthy family? Why does she have to kill someone? The female lead is so despicable. Why does she treat the male lead like this? It was clearly her and her mother who first tried to reap benefits in return. She provoked the male lead first. Now that the male lead has fallen in love with her, she puts on this bad face. Is she looking for trouble? That's right. The male lead's biggest mistake is that he's been too good-tempered and kind these years, spoiling her into what she is now. Is Jonas too good-tempered and kind? Then what about the torture I've endured all these years? Is it the retribution from heaven after my mother saved this scumbag? Either we all had hallucinations just now, or this drama suddenly went crazy. The plot will definitely be normal next. That's right. It must be like this. Don't be afraid. Carl stood in front of me just like the previous 39 times. Today is our wedding. I won't let anyone ruin. Carl, I'm sorry. I pushed him away, tore off my veil and corsage, and walked straight towards Jonas. Jonas at the end of the red carpet immediately stopped in his tracks. The tyranny and gloom in his eyebrows and eyes melted away. He glanced triumphantly at Carl, who was blocked by the bodyguards behind me, and looked at me with a half-smile. Natalie, at least you have some conscience. I didn't say anything. I just stepped forward quickly, accurately, and fiercely, and stabbed the sharp object in my hand into his neck. Jonas's eyes widened in surprise. Natalie. I pulled out the hairpin, and blood spurted out from his neck. Under the sunlight, it was as beautiful as a fountain of blood. After a short moment of silence, panicked screams immediately rang out around us. Someone's been killed. The bodyguards rushed forward and pinned me to the ground. Jonas covered his neck, and his body also slumped down uncontrollably. He looked terrified, incredulous, dazed, and at a loss, as if he didn't understand how things could have turned out like this. I had clearly walked towards him on my own initiative. I had clearly loved him so much. How could I kill him? In his terrified and dazed gaze, I saw myself with blood on my face, and my smile was more carefree than ever before. The female lead killed the male lead again. She's still smiling. My goodness. How can she smile? Omga. My Jonas. How dare the female lead? How dare she? Where the hell is the exit button, Omga? I really don't want to watch anymore. Double kill. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a double kill. The last bullet comment caught my attention. However, before I could take a closer look, Jonas on the other side died with unwillingness and resentment. When I opened my eyes again, he had changed his clothes and was alive again. Natalie, I'll give you one more chance. Kneel down and clean Han Ying's shoes. He leaned lazily on the leather sofa in the bar booth, hugging a woman in a red dress, with a haughty and indifferent expression. If you do it, I'll still recognize you as my fiancé. If you don't, get out of the Anderson family. Brother Jonas, this isn't very nice, is it? After all, Sister Natalie has a marriage contract with you. The woman in the red dress, Martina, Jonas's childhood friend, was pretending to be reluctant and persuading him. What marriage contract? If I recognize it, she is my fiancé. If I don't, Jonas sneered. In his peach blossom eyes, which should have been gentle and amorous, there was now a surging of resentment and jealousy. He enunciated each word clearly. She's a promiscuous and two-faced slut. I remembered. This was 2 months before my wedding with Carl. Jonas saw me chatting and laughing with Carl and determined that I was promiscuous and would flirt with any man I saw. So he deliberately humiliated me. In the original life, this was when I completely saw through Jonas's true nature and decided to give up on him. What's going on? Why is the timeline getting earlier each time? Although I'm a fan of the male and female leads as a couple, I have to say that the male lead is really despicable at this time. Just because he saw the female lead talking to her childhood sweetheart for a while, he insulted the female lead like this. The dog male lead has had dozens of bed partners. The male lead is a wealthy young master. It would be strange if a 25-year-old man was still a virgin. Right. What about the female lead? Does the female lead have to wait for the male lead with her virginity intact? It's precisely because of the male lead's scumminess and despicableness in the early stage that it can better set off how satisfying it is when he becomes a dog for the female lead in the later stage. I just like this kind of plot. I like it. I enjoy it. And I want more. Where's the satisfaction? I only see the female lead's pain and struggle. The dog male lead really deserves to die. I support the female lead in killing him for the 3rd time. What? You don't want to? Jonas looked at me and smiled, but his eyes had no warmth. Do you want to be a housewife for your little childhood sweetheart? Natalie, are you really that unable to live without a man? Suddenly, he got angry, stood up straight, and grabbed my neck, gnashing his teeth and saying, "Do you still remember that you're my Jonas's fiancé?" I had difficulty breathing, but I still couldn't help laughing. Jonas, do you know that you're the most despicable person I've ever met in my life? Jonas raised his eyebrows in surprise and said in disbelief, "What did you say?" I said. I picked up the fruit knife on the fruit plate and stabbed it fiercely into Jonas's abdomen, then pulled it out and stabbed it in again. I said, "You're a scumbag. A scumbag. Have you ever regarded me as your fiancé? Do you still remember that my mother died to save you?" Jonas covered his wound and staggered back onto the sofa. His childhood friend, his close friends, and the hostesses in the bar all let out a scream and scattered like birds and beasts. Jonas looked in pain, but there was still residual anger on his face. It was clearly you and your mother trying to reap benefits in return. Don't say that to me. I pounced on him and stabbed him again with the knife, then held the handle and stirred it vigorously. The marriage contract between you and me was insistently set by your parents. My mother died saving you. I was only 7 years old at that time. Could a 7-year-old child coerce your Anderson family into setting a marriage contract between me and you? Moreover, don't you know exactly what kind of life I've led all these years? What kind of your fiancé am I? I'm clearly a dog that your Anderson family raised for you. In Jonas's wide eyes filled with fear, I saw myself with blood all over my face and a crazy expression. If it weren't for you, my mother wouldn't have died at all. She was such a good swimmer. It was you who pushed her underwater again and again. Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell. I lost count of how many times I stabbed him. I just felt an unprecedented sense of relief. The resentment and indignation that had been pent up for so many years finally found an outlet to pour out. In the end, Jonas lay on the sofa with his eyes wide open. The part below his neck was a mass of bloody flesh, and he was completely unrecognizable. I was completely exhausted and slumped down in a pool of blood, laughing heartily. The bullet comments that had paused briefly began to scroll wildly again. Some people thought I was too cruel. Some were scared by me. Some thought I was quite patient to have endured until now before going crazy. There were also those who felt sorry for Jonas and cursed me furiously. I didn't care about any of them. I just stared closely at the bullet comments, until a bullet comment finally popped up again. Triple kill. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a triple kill. I didn't close my eyes and watched as the scene in front of me twisted and changed, instantly turning into the grand hall of the Anderson family's villa. The guests were dressed elegantly. There were a great many of them, and the music was melodious. This was 3 years ago. It was the 50th birthday party of Jonas's mother. Before I could recover from the satisfaction of killing Jonas with my own hands, the 22-year-old Jonas suddenly rushed out and pulled me away. He walked so fast and urgently that I couldn't keep up and instinctively struggled. Jonas suddenly turned around with a pair of bloodshot eyes. Natalie, is this what you want? Do you even know what shame is? His words were confusing, but I understood. He had been drugged. It was the sworn enemy of the Anderson family who had sneaked in and given him an aphrodisiac. They intended to create a scandal to humiliate the Anderson family. As a result, Jonas mistakenly thought that I was the one who drugged him and took me to the room and raped me, even though more than 30 lifetimes had passed. Just thinking about that night's experience, I couldn't help feeling scared and terrified. Jonas was not a human being at all. He was just a beast in heat. After that night, I was unconscious for a full 3 days. As soon as I woke up, I faced the harsh criticism of the entire Anderson family. I already knew you were a restless one, but I didn't expect you to be so bold as to drug Jonas directly at the party. Do you know how strong that drug is? It could harm Jonas's body. We raised you so big, not for you to bite the hand that feeds you. I said it wasn't me, that I didn't drug Jonas, that I didn't know anything about it at all, and that Jonas had raped me. Jonas's mother scolded me. If not you, then who? You're Jonas's fiancé. Isn't that what we keep you for? Still talking about being raped, pretending to be a chaste and heroic woman. You dared to drug him but don't dare to take the responsibility. No one was willing to listen to my explanation. Everyone, just like Jonas, believed that I was a scheming woman who coveted wealth and glory, afraid that Jonas wouldn't marry me. I was trying to force the issue at the birthday party and make them fulfill the marriage contract and take me in. I was punished and put under confinement. A high fever led to pneumonia, and I almost died. Later, when the truth came out and they knew that it wasn't me who drugged him, they just casually said, "So it wasn't you? Then why didn't you say so earlier?" Jonas didn't show the slightest bit of remorse. Instead, he said, "Then you've made a profit. Natalie, if it weren't for me accidentally being drugged, I might never have touched you in my life." There was no apology, not even a word of wronging me. "Since you want it, I'll satisfy you." Jonas's breath, reeking of alcohol, sprayed on my face. His turbid eyes, stained by debauchery, were full of animalistic desire. Stop killing. Stop killing. Although the male lead really deserves to die at this time. But female lead, baby, you don't want to be stuck in the loop forever, do you? Follow the original plot to truly get out of the loop. OMGA. Female lead, even if I'm begging you, really stop killing. This world revolves around the male lead. The female lead will only gain happiness if she obediently follows the original plot. Why doesn't she understand? Happiness. Since my mother drowned while saving Jonas, I've no longer had the ability to feel true happiness. Jonas is the source of my pain in this life. As long as he's alive, I'll never be able to be truly happy. Moreover, haven't I followed the original plot before? Whether I'm gentle and submissive or fiercely resistant, as long as Jonas is around, I always end up with a bad outcome. I remember this plot is also very sad. The female lead fainted for 3 days for the first time and was wrongly accused of drugging someone. She was put under confinement, had a high fever that led to pneumonia, and almost died. Our Jonas didn't know the truth either. Can't you talk to him properly? Female lead. That's right. At this time, he already loves you in his heart. He just can't accept that the person he likes would calculate against him like this. If you talk to him properly, the result this time will definitely be different from before. I suppressed the urge to vomit and lowered my head meekly and timidly. The bullet comments were filled with joy and excitement. Thank goodness. The female lead is finally willing to make a change. Jonas snorted coldly and dragged me straight upstairs. I casually picked up a dinner knife from the dining table and hid it close to my skin in the sleeve of my dress. Wait. What? Did I see it wrong? As soon as we entered the room, Jonas threw me onto the bed and then pounced on me eagerly. Natalie, how can you be so lustful at such a young age? You're so afraid that I won't marry you that you even resorted to drugging me to tie yourself to me. Is this your love for me? Natalie. Fine. I'll grant your wish. The dinner knife pierced through the fabric of his suit and stabbed into his lower body silently. Perhaps the pain comes more slowly to someone who has been drugged with a strong aphrodisiac. It wasn't until the blood from my second stab splattered on my face that Jonas realized it was his own blood. Not the blush on my face. The pain came crashing down, and he involuntarily arched his body, like a shrimp with its vein removed. Natalie, are you crazy? The bullet comments were equally in a state of collapse. Didn't you say you would talk properly? Why are you stabbing him again? Talk properly. Why should I talk properly to a beast? He doesn't understand human language anyway, and it would just be a waste of my breath. But I was still in a good mood to answer Jonas's words. I'm not crazy. I'm just fighting back against a rapist who has lost his humanity. Jonas twitched in pain and curled up. His whole face turned red as if congested. There was anger, resentment in his eyes, and more of a confused look. A rapist. After understanding the meaning of the word, he became angry. Natalie, get it straight. It was clearly you who drugged me. No, if I really drugged you, it would only be rat poison, not an aphrodisiac. Even in such intense pain, Jonas's expression was briefly blank. He really couldn't understand my deep-seated hatred for him. The Anderson family had been kind to me. I had been his fiancée since I was a child. Whether I truly loved him or loved the wealth and power of the Anderson family, it was always my own choice. How could I hate him so much that I wanted to kill him? Natalie. No, you're not Natalie. He dragged his body, which was almost fainting from the pain, off the bed and crawled towards the door. Somebody. Help. But just like in the original life, when I was tortured under Jonas and desperately called for help but got no response. This time Jonas's cry for help also went unanswered. I nimbly jumped off the bed and locked the door from the inside. Jonas. Why do you think it was me who gave you the aphrodisiac? I had wanted the answer to this question for too long. All these years in the Anderson family. Nominally, I'm your fiancé. But in reality, I'm just a personal nanny that your parents raised for you. Right. No. A nanny has human rights, a salary, and holidays. I'm different. I squatted down and slapped his face with the bloody dinner knife one by one. I not only have to be at your beck and call, but I also have to endure all kinds of humiliation from you and your cronies, deliberately pushing me into the water, ordering me to go halfway across the city to buy mung bean cakes and then not eating them, asking me to cook chicken soup for your beloved childhood friend. That's okay. Deleting the contract, causing me to mess up the company project and be in debt of millions, snatching away the guaranteed admission quota that I finally got, making me take the blame for your cheating crony, and getting me a major demerit. One by one. Jonas, do you know how long I've remembered these things and how long I've hated you? Although I was a fan of the male and female leads, well, I can't be a fan anymore now. I support the female lead in killing this scumbag. Jonas is a bit naughty, but the female lead has really lived a wealthy life in the Anderson family all these years. And Jonas didn't like the female lead before. With his status, what kind of woman couldn't he find? He was tied to a rustic girl from the countryside since he was a child. He was also very frustrated. Okay. Jonas covered his wound and gasped painfully. I admit that I really did these things wrong. But Natalie, you also have to understand me. Having a fiancé out of the blue, I wasn't exactly happy about it either. I slashed his face with a knife. Did I force your parents to set this marriage contract for us? Jonas, have you forgotten that I was only 7 years old when my mother drowned saving you? The tip of the knife approached Jonas's eyes, and only then did fear spread in his eyes. It was your parents who set the marriage contract between me and you for the sake of a good reputation for the company. You didn't even ask about my true wishes at all. I don't want a damn fiancé at all. I scratched his face fiercely. I want my mother. I want my living mother. Jonas, give me back my mother. No, the tip of the knife stabbed deeply into his eye socket, and I heard a scream that was extremely satisfying. The female lead is so cruel. But why do I feel kind of excited? My Jonas. Don't struggle. Those upstairs. Anyway, we can't exit. Otherwise, let's look at it from the female lead's perspective again. Just treat it as a revenge novel that makes people feel great. I didn't let Jonas die so easily as in the previous 3 times. Even if his eyes were blind, he still had his hands. Even if his hands were broken, he still had his feet. The blood flowed out bit by bit. He was in so much pain that he was too weak to scream. When the dinner knife finally stabbed into his neck, I even saw a look of relief on his face. Quadra-kill. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a quadra-kill. This time, it was 7 years ago. Jonas and I were 18 years old and in our senior year of high school. Am I going to search your school bag myself? Or are you going to hand over that necklace voluntarily? The 18-year-old Jonas had a youthful look in his eyebrows and eyes, but that annoying look of contempt and arrogance seemed to be innate, firmly taking up residence between his eyebrows. What's going on now? I know. It's the supporting female character Martina who suspects that the female lead stole her necklace and is here to demand an explanation. The male lead knows that Martina doesn't like the female lead. To please her, he directly bought an identical necklace and put it in the female lead's school bag. What? What does that mean? Deliberately torturing the female lead. Right. Did those upstairs just find out? This drama tortures the female lead from beginning to end. But now our female lead has risen up and can knock down the male lead and the supporting female character in no time. I ignored the unruly Jonas. I looked around and, as expected, saw the looks of either disdain or contempt from everyone. What a pity. This was the classroom, and there were no convenient weapons at hand. I wonder if a ballpoint pen can pierce through Jonas's neck. Just as I was worried, I reached into my school bag and was immediately overjoyed. How could I forget? In high school, I had a serious self-destructive tendency and often carried a small knife with me. Jonas. I smiled at him. Can you come over here? I'll give you the necklace. Jonas was taken aback, and his sword-like eyebrows furrowed even deeper. But he still came over and said impatiently, "What trick are you playing this time?" I pulled out the small knife and slashed at his neck with force. Jonas didn't have any guard against me. A little follower who had always followed him meekly since childhood. Gentle, cowardly, and as soft as cotton. He couldn't have imagined that I would resist. He couldn't have imagined that I would go all out from the start, directly cutting his throat with a knife. Jonas stepped back, covering his neck that was spurting blood. Natalie. Martina supported him and screamed in horror. Are you crazy? The classmates who were watching the scene around us immediately scattered in panic. Natalie. I took out the diamond necklace that was said to be worth tens of thousands of yuan from my school bag and threw it at his feet. Jonas. You put this necklace in my school bag. Right. Jonas opened his mouth in vain, but could only make a strange hoarse sound. I really can't understand you. I let out a sigh, casually picked up a glass on the table and smashed it. Ignoring the stabbed palm, I gripped the sharp fragments in my hand. Martina let out a terrified scream and, forgetting about Jonas, crawled out in a panic. Jonas fell to the ground and looked at me in horror. What on earth have I done to offend you that you keep torturing me one way after another? My mother saved you, not harmed you. Right. I squatted down in front of Jonas, forcefully stabbed the sharp end of the fragment into his chest, and then smiled brightly at him. See you later, Jonas. Jonas's pupils dilated, and fear and despair welled up from the bottom of his eyes. In an instant, he stopped breathing. So satisfying. Unstoppable. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a pentakill. You country bumpkin. I will never recognize you as my fiancé. I opened my eyes and saw the 9-year-old Jonas with an angry, red face. Someone like you isn't even worthy of holding my shoes. What right do you have to be my fiancé? I'm telling you. Don't think that just because you saved me and my parents are protecting you, you will definitely marry me in the future. I would rather marry a pig than you. Wow. The 9-year-old Jonas. So cute. How could the female lead bear to do it? Yeah. And he's so young. All those previous harms haven't happened yet. He's just a cute little boy now. Female lead. If you teach him well, he will definitely change for the better. Why are you staring at me? Jonas suddenly rushed over and pushed me hard. Don't you dare look at me like that. My 9-year-old body was still too small, and I was a bit unskilled. When I fell to the ground, I realized that my legs were covered in wounds, and there were bandages on the serious parts. I remembered. The 9-year-old Jonas had a stubborn personality. He had a dispute with his father and mother because he didn't want me as his fiancé. He ran away from home at such a young age. As soon as he left the villa area, he was almost hit by a car. I rushed over and saved him, scraping my legs in the process. Natalie, you have to remember that if you want to stay in this family, you have to make Jonas like you. You are Jonas's fiancé. You should use everything you have to accompany him and protect him. This is the responsibility of a fiancé. Jonas's life was saved by your mother. That means your mother's life was exchanged for his. You don't want the person your mother risked her life to save to get hurt, do you? Jonas's father and mother brainwashed me into giving everything for Jonas. So even though I was extremely scared when the car came crashing towards us, I still chose to rush out and save Jonas. But he didn't appreciate it. Just like now. He looked fiercely at the wounds on my legs and raised his foot to kick me. I don't care if you saved me. Even if you hadn't saved me, that person wouldn't have dared to hit me. I'm the young master of the Anderson family. Before his kick landed on my wound, I got up and charged at him. Coincidentally, there was a swimming pool right behind him. Jonas fell into the water unexpectedly and opened his mouth to scold me. Natalie, you gurgle gurgle gurgle. Jonas didn't learn how to swim until he was 14 years old. He struggled in the water and called for help. His gaze gradually changed from anger to fear. But this time, no one would come to save him. I don't know how long it took. Jonas's body sank. He was dead. I looked at the bullet comments still scrolling in the air. Godlike. Congratulations to the female lead for achieving a hexakill. Why are there so many people up ahead? A gentle female voice that I hadn't heard for a long time rang in my ears. I opened my eyes and carefully raised my head to look at the person. Neat short hair that reached the ears, a thin and determined face, and gentle eyebrows and eyes that habitually carried a bit of sadness. Mom. It was Mom. Finally. I finally saw my mother again. Natalie, you wait here for Mom. There's a big brother who fell into the water over there, and Mom is going to save him. No. My heart began to beat violently. I hugged my mother's arm tightly and almost wrapped myself around her with my hands and feet. No. Don't go. You'll die. Mom. Don't go. Don't leave me alone. We finally have a chance to live a good life. Don't leave me. Don't. I cried my heart out, feeling extremely heartbroken and not caring about anything else. The Anderson family is a business tycoon with great power and influence. The person who deserved to die was never my mother, but Jonas. Jonas was a jinx, a bad luck charm. Whoever got involved with him would be haunted by bad luck for a lifetime. What's wrong? Natalie. Mom is here. Mom is fine. Don't cry. Don't cry. My mother squatted down and held me in her arms. Natalie. Don't scare Mom. Mom is fine. Mom won't go. But my tears still couldn't stop. I couldn't remember how many years it had been since I last saw my mother. Since she died saving Jonas, there had been no more light in my life. I had struggled in the darkness named Jonas for so many years. I finally returned to my mother's embrace. It was as if I wanted to vent all the grievances of the previous 40-something lifetimes. I even fainted from crying in my mother's arms. This time, my mother didn't care about Jonas who had fallen into the water anymore. She picked me up and rushed to the hospital. When I woke up again, my mother was by my side. On the TV, the news of the drowning death of the only son of the local richest man, the Anderson family, was being broadcast. Jonas's father and mother were heartbroken by the river. Congratulations to the female lead for successfully achieving the achievement of reversing her life. Next, please enjoy the life that belongs only to you. The bullet comments disappeared. Natalie. My mother noticed that I had woken up and quickly pressed the bell to call the doctor. Then she walked over with red and swollen eyes. How do you feel? I held her hand, smelled the unique smell of my mother on her body, and felt the warmth coming from her. My heart was more at peace than ever before. I feel extremely good. I hugged her neck, as if holding a precious treasure that I had lost and found again. Mom, I love you so much.